Salut à toutes et à tous et bienvenue dans Story Série.
Come with me, I'll give you a tour.
Cette semaine, on passe par toutes les émotions avec nos invités préférés de ces dernières semaines.
Almost.
On flippe avec Rosemary Rodriguez, réalisatrice ultra passionnée de The Walking Dead, dont la 11e saison arrivera l'an prochain. On pleure avec Kristian Nairn, interprète impeccable de l'adorable Hodor dans Game of Thrones. Et on rit avec John Oliver, l'anglais le plus drôle d'Amérique.
Hi there, welcome to the show. Still coming to you from this blank void, which I don't think is purgatory, but I can't prove otherwise.
You arrived on The Walking Dead on season 7. How do you deal with getting into a family that has been running for a long time and, well, you can have the new kids?
Well, I mean, I had worked with Jeffrey Dean Morgan on The Good Wife, and we really hit it off. We really liked working together. And so one day I came into my house and I remember putting my keys down and I got a text. Do you want to do The Walking Dead? And so my husband was in the kitchen and I was like, hey, Nestor, somebody's asking me if I want to do The Walking Dead, but I don't know who it is. And he goes, well, tell him, fuck yeah. And then ask him who it is. I'm sorry, who are you? So I literally was like, fuck yeah. I'm sorry, who are you? Anyway, he was like, oh, it's Jeffrey. So the next day I was on the phone with Scott Gimple and we had a nice chat. And then that was that.
Are my sunshine.
Go on.
My only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray.
Do not let me distract you, young man.
You'll never know, dear, how much I love you.
First episode you directed was Sing Me a Song.
Yeah.
It was quite a very weird and difficult episode because it's very talkative. You have to film a lot of dialogues. And sometimes and a very violent scene in between. So can you just tell me how was your first day and what scene you started with?
It was a great script for me. I thought it was great because I loved, Carl, to try to find another facet of his character as well was very a great challenge for me, and I was very excited about that.
Get that hair out of your face. Let me see.
The part that was scary for me was right from the beginning in that conversation with Scott Gimple. He was like, oh, this is my favorite comic. Like, I've been waiting for years for this episode.
No pressure.
And from that moment on, I didn't sleep. Like, for the rest of the time, I was like, oh my God, this is iconic to Scott and like everybody. And I'm like, holy shit, how am I can't let anyone down, right? So it was like a lot of pressure. So I went to set so that I could, we were having a meeting during lunch and I wanted to sort of check in with Chandler and talk to him a little bit about what was coming up. And while I was there, Andrew Lincoln showed up and I got to talk to him and I was like, tell me about Chandler. And I want to be there for him, but I want to make sure, just how does he like to work? And I just wanted to know. And it turns out he was looking also to talk to me about that also. Of course, being an outsider and not knowing, he wanted to make sure that Chandler was going to be okay with me, in such a big moment. And so big scene. And so we had a great conversation and it really did solidify that I felt like I was part of the family.
I know that you love the idea of learning all the time. What do you feel you've learned on that show specifically?
What have I learned on The Walking Dead? It's so interesting. I think I've learned that people can be really involved in their work and really involved with their fans and millions of them and remain very humble and remain very pure of heart. So to bear witness to that type of behavior is extraordinary, and it's possible. So I think that's what, in weird way, I think that's what The Walking Dead has done for me, is like see that the stories can be compelling in that way as well. But in real life, the people putting it together also put their heart and their soul into it in a way that is extraordinary, based on how difficult it can be to be famous in a business, and, you know, scary that can be, and overwhelming. They seem to navigate that in the most extraordinary way.
You were in the very first episode of Game of Thrones. You were there from day one.
Yes.
Do you remember the feeling being on set on this thing and what you thought at that moment?
No, not at all. Yeah, of course I did. It was overwhelming. I mean, you have to remember it was my first day as a professional actor as well. So I went from anything small I'd done before into this huge production. And I think my first scene was in the courtyard when the Lannisters arrived from King's Landing in Winterfell. It was so incredibly over the top of what I thought it would be. I thought it would be all special effects, but it was like real horses, real carriages inside a real castle.
Your Grace.
Everyone was there. I think it was the biggest collection of like the main cast ever together, and probably the last time also. I mean, I'm a fantasy nerd. I love Lord of the Rings. I love all that. And so I was just like a child. I was so excited.
So it felt like you were in Lord of the Rings, kind of.
Yeah, I was very nervous. I knew when I saw the sets and how much detail. It was like it was so real. It made it really easy to be in character because you felt like you were really there. Even the smells, a lot of people commented on that it smelled bad. It smelled like a castle would, you know, it really, really did. And I think that comes across even from the first episode when you look at Winterfell and the sort of detail in the costumes. Yeah, I think it set the bar very high, very early.
So you arrive in season 1, season 6, Odor dies.
Hold the door! 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 Hold the door!
There was videos on the internet with people getting crazy watching it.
Yeah.
Have you seen them?
I love to watch the reaction videos, and that's one of the things that I miss most about the show not being on. I love to watch people freaking out on Twitter and Facebook, and I miss all that like hype. But the reaction videos are hilarious. I completely understand. That was a very traumatic episode.
Yeah. Did you keep watching the show afterwards?
I never watched the show until now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I only watched like the principal episodes, the big ones.
Yeah.
Which is strange because I love this. I love stuff like that, as you know. And I watched it during the time off. It's just so good. It's just everything I hoped it would be. All the little small parts, it's so good. It's weird to watch yourself. I don't like watching myself.
So the first episode aired 10 years ago, which makes us feel so old.
I know, obviously, either of us have aged a single day. We look better now, in fact. Yeah.
We can say, honestly, it's become the biggest show on television ever, for many reasons. But for you, according to you, what are the main reasons why you feel people got addicted to it so much, fell in love with it so much?
I think it was the characters. There were no small characters in the show. Every character had like an important part to play. George is a master of writing characters and characters we fall in love with. He makes us fall in love with characters we hate, and he makes us hate characters we love, and he just plays with your emotions in so many ways. He's so incredibly, and everything's foreshadowed. Nothing happens for no reason. There are things, small things that happen that turn into massive things Like the Hodor thing as well, is what Hodor really means. Like, who would have thought? You know what I mean? That sort of thing. Years later, it pays off. And also, some high fantasy can be hard for people to tap into because it's all about magic, and which I love. I mean, that's for me. But to cross over to people who don't like that, it has to be really great story. And I think with all the dragons and all the White Walkers and the magic, it's still about the characters.
Yeah.
That's why people loved it. And I think that's the first. I think it's the first time it's been done to that level. I'm just so grateful for the chance I have in Game of Thrones, and it's really changed my life in so many ways. None of them are negative. It's all been positive stuff, and it set me up for some really incredible stuff even in the future. And I miss it. I miss the people, and I miss the crew, and I miss the cast, and yeah, it was sad.
That's a series wrap shot for Mr. Hodor.
Thank you, guys.
You've been doing it without an audience lately because you have no choice.
I haven't heard a human laugh since March.
Because we used to have an audience for this show. Also, I used to get to see the incredible people I make this show with, most of whom I miss very much, and 3 of whom I don't. 2 of you know who you are.
But I guess especially when you come from stand-up, even though I've read you said it was a very tough crowd in the UK, or when you played in Community, you had at least a crew to know if it worked. But how do you do that?
I don't even have a crew now.
What
I'm
do you
alone.
do? So
I'm
how do you
alone
know
in a
if
room.
a joke works?
That's a really good question, because I think the truth is, I fundamentally don't. I think you develop an internal barometer of whether I believe this to be true, but the beauty about live comedy is an audience will tell you whether you're right or not.
Yeah.
And so at the end of a show that you've done in front of a live audience, you can kind of know they found that funny. Now, when I finish the show and press stop, which is literally how I had to press stop on the camera, I do find myself going, I hope that made sense. I hope that was funny. I don't know anymore.
That must be so disturbing.
It's pretty weird. Something
else you've proved is the power of comedy. Comedy is very often seen as something, smaller than drama, but the John Oliver effect is something. You've proved that it works. Comedy can be very serious and very powerful.
Yeah, I don't know if it works. Comedy, it's always been my favorite thing. I think you're completely right. I think people kind of have it at the bottom of the pecking order in the arts. Just, theatre, drama, film if you must, television if you run out of ideas, and then comedy if you are absolutely a peasant.
Yeah.
Whereas for me, it's always been the best. It's the thing that's excited me the most. It's the kind of messaging device that I respond to the most.
Clearly, this has been a dark time to be producing a comedy show, but incredibly, we have managed to have some fun this year. We sponsored a Marble League, we made stamps to help the Postal Service, we tracked down this magnificent piece of rat erotica, which, alongside this painting by Larry Kudlow's wife and this painting of Wendy Williams eating a lamb chop, could be coming soon to a museum near you. We made a show for cats, I got into a fight with Danbury, Connecticut, which resulted in them naming a sewage plant after me. John Cena delivered a message about conspiracy theories for us while taking off his shirt, something, and I cannot stress this enough, we did not ask him to do.
To the extent that our show has any impact, I think it is sometimes in managing to get very complicated stories into a form that is palatable to people.
Exactly.
And so that's incredibly fun.
I feel like politics and television are made for each other because it's really the most direct, accessible way to learn and to know about politics. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that is the best case scenario, is that it's a messaging device where you can reach a lot of people. I think the worst case scenario of the conflation of politics and television is the president that America's just had for the last 4 years. So,
yes.
It is a seesaw. Yeah, it's a powerful tool that can be used responsibly and in a deeply reckless way.
First, no one expected Trump to immediately, cheerfully accept the results. He's incapable of cheerfully accepting anything apart from blowjobs, Nazi endorsements, and the opportunity to scream inside a stranger's truck. Whose truck is that? I'll tell you who definitely doesn't care. This guy. It's his truck now. Honk! Honk!
Well, I have to wrap up. Thank you so much. It was worth the wait,
Really nice to meet you.
Yeah.
All right, thanks a lot.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Story Série, c'est terminé. La semaine prochaine, nous retrouverons l'enfer de Gilead avec la très attendue saison 4 de The Handmaid's Tale.
Do you have some secret, brilliant plan?
I made a promise to hurt them the way we hurt.
Allez, à la semaine prochaine.